Alright guys, thanks for coming. This is my self-intro speech, just to give you guys a little bit of background history about myself and a little bit of my history of where I came from. For starters, my name is David Griffin. I'm a junior at Indiana University East. I'm a business management major. So just so you know, I am a transfer student, so I have attended other schools. And one of the main reasons I'm taking this class is just to enhance my techniques and my capabilities on public speaking, and just to be able to practice a little more and get a little more familiar with that. So a little bit about myself. I grew up Southern. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, on the metro area, actually in East Point. I don't know if you've ever seen the city, Stone the Bluffs, but it's the same county that I grew up in. So I grew up in a little poorer city. Right from the get-go, I was originally in public schools, but I got I got moved to homeschool because my parents weren't super fond of me with my influences and my friends and whatnot. So I was homeschooled for a good while. I still played track. I still played basketball for the government leagues. And then by the time I was 13, the university that my dad was working at, he decided to move to a university in Dallas, Texas. So at the age of 13, I went from being a minority in an all-black city to being a majority and living in a richer, upper-class neighborhood. So there's a lot of cultural shock with that, you know, going from such different cultures. The median income in Dallas, Texas was $130,000 compared to Atlanta, which was around 40. So it's a pretty big gap in social standards and whatnot. So after about 2 years of living in Dallas, then I moved to California. And here, that's where I went to high school. That's where majority of my life was lived after Atlanta. I went to a private high school there due to my parents making me. They didn't really want me to go to a public school, but I didn't want to be homeschooled, so we had to compromise with a private school. I played varsity sports with basketball, soccer, and football. I was the team captain for basketball for 2 of my years, and I was also the senior class president. So I had a good amount of responsibilities to achieve. But anyway, so that's a little bit about myself. My life plan is generally I'd like to own my own business. I don't have too much plans as far as exactly what I want to do with that, but I just do know that I'd like to own my own business and kind of be in more self-control of what I want to do. So one of the reasons I registered for this class was for the practice and techniques of public speaking, just to get a little more familiar with what to do with your hands, where to place your feet, and whatnot. Even though I don't necessarily have any issues with public speaking, practice always makes perfect. It's always good just to know how to properly communicate to others. I took the PRPSA, which is the test which kind of assesses one's anxiety with public speaking. I scored a 98 out of 130, which is relatively low. So although I don't struggle with anxiety, I'm not like necessarily the best at it either with regards to public speaking. So with that low anxiety and along with that test, I had to figure out my communication apprehension, which is the anxiety of public speaking. And the test just kind of shows you what to focus on, what your strong points are, and how you can get better with that. So another thing that I've learned with the test is that nervousness to an extent is useful, as nervousness can allow for more seriousness, to adapt to the presentation, not taking it too lightly, not jokingly or doing anything like that, actually preparing for it. Some strategies that I do when I'm doing public speaking is focusing on breathing calmer, knowing what you're talking about, not getting jumbled up and being disorientated, but knowing what you're talking about and making sure not to talk too quickly, not be machine gun, make sure everyone can understand you and that you're enunciating everything correctly. So in conclusion, I grew up with many different cultures. It's a little bit of a different background. I hope that this class will help me demonstrate better techniques when public speaking and be a little bit more prepared for it. and that hopefully, and that public speaking doesn't necessarily mean that you're better at speeches, but also it helps you with communication, learning how to adapt to others' body languages, make sure that they're hearing and taking in what you're saying. So that concludes my speech. Thank you for watching.